Hey everyone, welcome back. I hope all of you guys are doing good and staying safe. In the previous video, we took a look at how do you delete a VPC that you created through the Launch Wizard. In this video, it's a theoretical session. I'm going to walk you through some organization level standard best practice of creating VPCs, which is highly available within a respective region. So in this diagram, if you take a look at it, you have the AWS cloud, and let's say that you are working out of the US East 1 region. The US East 1 region has 6 availability zones all the way from A to F. US East 1A, 1B, 1C, 1D, 1E, and 1F. So the way that I would like you to think about a tiered subnet architecture is I want you to think about having a separate tier for public subnets, a separate tier for private web subnets, a separate tier for private services subnets, and a separate tier of private data subnets. So here you have a separate tier of public subnets, a separate tier of private web subnets, a separate tier of private services subnets, and a separate tier of private data subnets, all mapped to different availability zones. So in this way, even if one availability zone goes down, you would still be able to serve your end users from another set of availability zones. So a highly available network architecture. The other thing that I want you to remember is having 4 route tables over here. One route table for the public subnets, one route table for the private web subnets, one route table for the private services subnets, one route table for the private data subnets. So in that way, you can handle your routes in a tiered approach. So you can ensure something like, probably you can ensure that your private data subnets can be accessed from your corporate data center. Your private services subnets can access private data subnets, but your private web subnets cannot directly access private data subnets. Your public set of subnets should not access your private services or your private data. So in that way, you have more granular control into what can access what. But in that way, since we are talking about security as to what can access what, you can also have 4 different NACLs. You can have one NACL for your public set of subnets, one NACL for your private web set of subnets, one NACL for your private services set of subnets, one NACL for your private data set of subnets. Now you can say that the public set of subnets should for sure not talk to private services or private data. Only private services can talk to private data. So now you can ask me, Akshay, I can understand this, but what resources would you place? Into my public subnet, I would place an internet gateway and NAT gateway. Into my private web subnets, I would place a load balancer. Into my private services subnets, I would place my business logic, something like EC2 instances, Lambda functions. Into my private data subnets, I would place my database. So isn't that beautiful, having a tiered set of subnet approach, right? Where you have more control over what's happening. And you can also have a highly available NAT gateway that sits in multiple subnets, multiple public subnets. So in that way, if suppose availability zone A goes down, where you have a NAT gateway, you can still have a NAT gateway in availability zone B. You can still have a NAT gateway in availability zone C as a highly available NAT gateway architecture. The internet gateway is by default highly available and fully managed by AWS across availability zones. So now take a look at this kind of an architecture when you employ something for your organization, for all of your applications, so that you have more granular control over what's happening. And your entire AWS network can talk to your corporate data center through 3 different aspects. This is where I'm going to introduce some advanced concepts, which we'll see later down the line. You can use a transit gateway. You can use a direct connect connection. You can use a site-to-site VPN connection, which goes through the internet. So you have so many different options to connect your corporate data center to your AWS VPC. Isn't that amazing? So I hope you take a look at this architecture diagram in more detail. I hope you try it out once to see how you have a highly available network diagram. In the next video, I'm going to take you through the process of creating a VPC the hard way instead of using the launch VPC wizard. And then we'll take a closer look at some more VPC concepts. Okay. So I'll catch you in the next session. Have a great day. Have a lot of fun. I'll see you later. Take care. Bye-bye.